Good evening, everyone. So today we have with us Mr. Naval Sabharwal, who is the global head in supply chain and logistics at Ramco Systems. Mr. Naval Sabharwal has served in the logistics team of the Indian Air Force for over 20 years, and he also got the Presidential Award from the then President of India. And he retired as a wing commander, and he has specialized in supply chain management, strategy development, handling and coordination of highly complex projects, warehouse designing, planning, and execution, setting up of an integrated transportation system, executing logistics IT programs. And he has done this for over the past 20 years. Before this, he has also worked as the Associate Vice President in Hexaware Technologies. The topic that we have today is disruption ready supply chains. Over to you, sir.
So today you have AI ML engines that actually help you design the setups of your software based on data without human intervention. Then is about your historical sales forecasting of data. And a lot of it you're finding is what I'm talking about is relating to demand generation. And that is in terms of what we call as the world of heat maps. A heat map is an interrelational engine between factors. And this is also driven a lot by platforms because platforms is where you can accumulate so much of data. And now areas that are impacting everyone, especially now in the COVID world, is on your suppliers. Now suppliers are, their variations are very, very high. Suppliers are not consistent. So getting suppliers to adhere to lead time is not easy. So what's happening nowadays is people are taking control of the inbound. So the people who have succeeded in the world of e-com have managed to work on this very well. The laggards have a different model which has got inefficiencies in the whole thing, and that is buy stocks. So you invest in inventory if you cannot work on supplier lead time accuracy. New product introductions are also now using a lot of this historical data because you are able to build a lot more interrelations between probable factors that go and influence sales in the whole. So, it is like space by pallets rather than renting warehouses. It's about a flexible network of hubs, crosstalks that are created around the country, which are independent of transportation companies. Today, every transportation company runs their own hubs and crosstalks. But uh, there will be a marketplace now wherein there will be an independent crosstalk center which every transportation company can use based on what their customers' flexible networks demand. So the world is moving towards, a palletized level space management in warehouses, independent cross-dock hubs networks, which is independent of transportation companies, unlike what it is now. Now, what all this is also doing is because of the power of technology, the trend is moving back to centralization, driven a lot by machines. Now, what COVID has done is people have been digging back into your supply chains. This is what the best in practice and the best in class supply chain guys will do is to create shadows out of the whole thing. And what is a black swan shadow? Did my supply chain demand and supply behave? When did it behave in the past like a black swan, which is close to COVID? And a lot of people have found similarities. You'll never find a perfect match, but you found similarities and said that I have had X number of black swans in the life cycle of my supply chain, and this is the shadow that matches closest to COVID, and it could be more than one combination of black swan shadows that have come up. And how did my supply chain behave that time? What did I do that time? What were the actions that were profitable? What are the actions that helped me reduce inventory and meet demand much better? And so the best in class are actually using concepts of black swan and black swan shadows. People who had centralized models and had technology did much better than others. They had much better control. People who had invested into automation and execution than others. And what it also led to is it broke a lot of silos in companies, and cross-lateral teams started getting formed. And as a result of that, a lot of inefficiencies in the world, which were there between silos or departments, started getting broken in the whole. And of course, in your complete supply chain, you need to now start catering for additional time or resources for all the safety processes uh, that you require in running your supply chain. So this is just a very brief glimpse on what COVIDs and supply chains, what are the trends that are emerging in terms of best practice and some disruptive models that are coming. You do not need to reach a perfect world of automation and optimization to start doing intelligence and experience. But if you do not have any foundation in automation optimization and you're trying to do intelligence and experience, let me tell you, it's going to be just one glamorous layer on top, which is not going to add value to the. So one needs to be looking at digital fitness from a very, very structured scientific method rather than get carried away by the fancy worlds or the fancy words that are thrown at us in today's world. So what the world is evolving into is a world of platforms, but divided into six prominent roles. One is the customer, one is the planner, one is the executor, one is the vendor, your partners, who need not just be a supplier. It could be a customs agent or a customs agency is also your vendor. One is the commercial guys who manage the complete buy and sell, and then there's the management and the investors who take those kind of decisions. And you would find that each of them is now going to use different types of digital tools as I've shown out here. The interesting part that you would find in this diagram is the platform, which are your current systems. You have a lot of systems today, ERP, all that stuff, that as future digital platforms emerge, none of these guys are going to literally log in into a system. When I talk of a world of no logins, this is where it is coming down to, where I will have digital tools to be able to access these platforms for my role. I want my information on the processes the way I want to work to enable results.
Yes, Javed here, sir. So whatever the even a single slide of yours was very much like insightful, and it really gave us the right inputs for us to be ready for the upcoming market that is coming up post COVID. So I would like to ask you one question regarding like during COVID times, it was seen that there was a stock out situation in most of the supermarkets, and usually it is just in time model that is being followed. As we are coming across such the pandemic or supply chain disruption that has been happening over 10 years of span. So what would be your take on this? Like, should we adopt a just in time, a just in case, or a mix of both?
Okay, so I think I don't think there is an answer of just in time and just in case. The world is now looking for both, and that is where the world of platforms come into play. See, in today's world, two things that people have realized that why this what the situation you're talking about has failed. Their supplier management was weak. They just didn't have good relationships. When I say no, it's not bad relationships. When I say good supply chain established along with their suppliers. And that's one big realization. And I mentioned also that people who did well in their supply relationships actually managed to do better in the whole thing. You would have found some brands not being stocked out and some brands suddenly flying off the shelf and not being available. Second thing is, you have put your data into so many silos that you're not able to get it together in the whole thing and actually exploit it that much more better. See, people who have done modeling, I have worked in this period with a very large FMCG company, a global FMCG company, and the data modeling has proven to them that if they had accumulated the data together on a platform, uh, these cases of stockouts that they faced would have been brought down by 90%. So I don't think the basics of supply chain in managing your suppliers, and what we call managing your data well can ever go away. I mean, these were things taught to me 40 years back, and nothing has changed till now. The only thing which has not seen happening is uh, actually real proper execution of the whole thing, and that's why I said that we guys with white hair have left a lot of problems for you, and I'm sure you guys will do much better than us.
Hello, sir. Sir, as you mentioned, there have been a lot of changes due to COVID, and one of them being a few of the companies changed their mode of supply to online, as in ITC and Britannia started selling it all their goods online and making it a direct customer base, uh, which created a shortage in most of the local markets that we have, the retailers we have just beside our shop, the small retailers. So, how do you think they should tackle this problem?
Okay, so Saiti, I think that's a very pertinent point and interesting question. That's how I started my whole presentation, saying omni channels is the truth or hype. Okay, and it's a hype currently. So, without getting into names, I said I have an intent of doing omni channel, but I'm not ready for it. So it's like, I want to cook a chicken masala, but I don't have masala with me. But the chicken should taste as tasty as a chicken masala. So you need to put the ingredients in place. But what happens is, you need to really also run your business. You cannot say I'm in an ideal situation always. So they had a situation, these names that you're taking actually are internally aware that they are not there, but then they take some risky business decisions, and they know the risks that they carry and they jump into it. But if they had invested into a proper omni supply chain, it would have helped them in COVID or no COVID. And jumping between channels for sale would have been that much more easier in the whole thing. You forget COVID, even in the pre COVID days, uh, I just could not jump channels so easily. And I had stocks lying in one channel and not available to the next channel. So black swamps did exist earlier. Did I make use of the black swamp shadows? The answer is no. And these are the kind of things you guys now come in the world of supply chain and make a difference. Today, in the world of supply chain, I can give you some numbers around on the kind of things that have not got exploited. Your inventory turns, if you look at last 20 years trends, and let's say look at FMCG, your inventory turns have just come down by 8% in 20 years, which is not much. Today, if you look at transportation capacity that earns revenue, 73% of the times transports are going empty and not earning revenue. Can you imagine the amount of inefficiencies that have been created in supply chains? So this is not something that you can switch on a button and say, okay, I switch on this button and it starts working. It's not WhatsApp. It's a much more complex world. And how much ever AI, ML, etc. may come into play, uh, the human mind, and especially young minds like you, can really start making an impact in this world.
Thank you, sir. It was really helpful.
Thank
It's a
you very
pleasure.
much.
Thank you so much. God bless you. Be safe and take care of yourself. Bye bye.